Speaking Human.
Today on Speaking Human, we crash the World Cup to explore how Beats by Dr. Dre managed to become the world's coolest brand by getting banned from the world's biggest marketing stage. Goal!
Speaking Human.
Welcome to Speaking Human, the official podcast of Monsters Unlimited, a creative agency with a business brain. I'm Shad Conley, Communications Director at Monsters Unlimited.
And I'm Patrick Jebber, Creative Director at Monsters Unlimited.
Oh, no way. We work at the same place.
That's
amazing.
crazy. That is crazy.
If this is your first time checking out the podcast, our goal on Speaking Human is to simplify complex marketing topics. We toss aside all the buzzwords and mumbo-jumbo to focus on what you really want to know, how marketing can bring brands and people together. On today's episode, we're sneaking into the World Cup with a pair of contraband headphones to show you how ambush marketing can make your product the breakout player of the game. So let's get into it. So before we jump into our discussion of the Beats World Cup marketing, Patrick, let's talk a little bit about, the World Cup and marketing at that event in general and the meteoric rise of Beats by Dre. First off, Patrick, have you been watching the World Cup? Is this something you're participating in with the rest of the world?
I watch it all the time. I do. I participate.
No way. It's kind of crazy. It's one of those things that's just such a freak occurrence. Nobody talks about soccer, and then the World Cup runs around, and everybody's a soccer fan.
Yeah, football, buddy. Football.
The real football.
Yeah.
So anyways, for people who don't know, the World Cup is a massively big worldwide event. It happens every 4 years, just like the Olympics. It's the ultimate soccer tournament with all the countries in the world. And, for you Americans, you may not know, soccer is actually the world's most popular sport, not our American football. So this is a huge marketing opportunity presented by the World Cup to reach people around the world, big brands, especially athletic-type brands. And even in the U.S., we're seeing the recent U.S. versus Portugal game got the highest soccer TV rating ever for the USA. So this event, it's ideal for sports companies and those kind of going after the young male demographic.
Yeah, I'm a young male. I'm aging quickly, but
you're youngish.
Youngish.
You're probably in that demographic though, and it's athletic companies. I don't want to limit it to males, but that's a key sort of demographic with many of them. So with the World Cup too. But anyway, Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about Beats by Dre, because there's a lot that's happened with this brand in a short period of time.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Beats was started in 2008 by the rap artist who many know as Dr. Dre and the chairman of Interscope, Geffen, A&M Records, Jimmy Iovine. And I know a lot of people ask me, how do you say that? It is Jimmy Iovine.
Is it Iovine?
Yeah, that kind of.
Because it reads like Iovine. Like iodine.
Yeah. Well, I watched a few videos just to see because I'd never actually heard anybody say his name out loud, and that's how they all seem to say it. But anyway. So the goal, though, with Beats was to bring recording studio sound to high-end consumer headphones. And they really wanted to bring the emotion back to sound in terms of music. And by 2012, Beats owned 51% of an estimated $1 billion premium headphone market. As you can imagine, now when you see everyone wearing those giant earmuffs on their head, that is Beats.
Brightly colored.
Yeah, brightly colored. And then obviously what's been in the news a lot lately has been in May, Apple agreed to buy Beats for $3 billion. Crazy amounts of money, but it's not,
Nice little chunk of change.
yeah. I mean, nowadays, I guess you hear about these acquisitions, and $3 billion isn't all that much, I guess, but it's still something that people talk about, because it was a unique pair of companies coming together.
What's the big story here? What are we talking about today?
If everybody hasn't heard this, the 2014 World Cup, that's 2014 this year, Beats launched their biggest advertising campaign ever, featuring some of the prominent soccer players that are in the World Cup wearing Beats in ads designed really to get sports fans pumped up. Campaign also coincides with the Beats launch. They have the Solo 2, which is one of the product lines of their headphones. It's a new version. It's one of their best-selling headphones, as a matter of fact. And they often have athletes with their headphones on to promote the brand. So when the players were frequently spotted wearing the headphones at the World Cup events, Beats headphones were banned by FIFA. And if you don't know who FIFA is, it's the Federal International Football Association. I almost said soccer. FISA.
Well
that would
done.
be weird.
FISA.
Yeah. But that's soccer's governing body. And because Beats is not an official sponsor of the World Cup, they banned them.
That's the basic of it. The story doesn't quite end there, though, because Sony, who is an official sponsor of the World Cup, they wanted to kind of eliminate any thought of Beats, so they actually went so far as to give every soccer player in the World Cup a pair of their headphones. And yet, athletes were still showing up wearing Beats, which led to more talk about the ban, more enforcement of the ban, and then more media coverage of the ban. So then it kind of turned into this huge thing. And this is, led many to remember if this isn't kind of a strategic move by Beats, what's called ambush marketing, where you're not an official sponsor of an event, but you kind of do things or take actions to market your product there around that event anyways. So it's created a little bit of a controversy, a little bit of a stir. And this is something that has happened to Beats before at the 2012 Olympics, where they also were not an official sponsor, but, were marketing around the event, and a lot of athletes were tweeting about their products and stuff like that, and many, wondered if it wasn't a little strategic. For their part, Beats says simply, music and sports are our sweet spot, so we just end up having a place there. Yeah. So let's talk about this controversy, Patrick. First of all, this idea, of ambush marketing, which I think came around in the 90s. I think it actually happened with the Olympics, because there was one Olympics where Nike was not a sponsor, and I think it was in Atlanta, they just took over the city with their marketing, and people were like, it's ambush marketing, they're not an official sponsor. So what are your thoughts, one, on ambush marketing and, on Beats marketing at the World Cup? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's foul? Right? Wrong? What are your thoughts?
Ready, go. Yeah. So first off, I'm going to say I think the whole thing is ridiculous to ban a specific product. While I get it from a marketer's perspective, they have these sponsors. If somebody is not a sponsor coming in, I get it. I mean, I understand. Nowadays, you can't keep stuff from people, though. You can't try to suppress what these athletes wear while they listen to music. It's next to impossible to make that happen,
Yeah. I mean, this day and age, you can't, especially with social media and everything, you cannot eliminate stuff. And even by eliminating it, aren't you just calling attention to it more?
Exactly. And, that brings me to the second point. So I think it's just fueled that controversy even more and ultimately helped Beats gain even more exposure like they needed anymore, right? Because especially after acquisition by Apple, all the press that got. But more importantly, it's what Beats did with that situation. They use it as an opportunity to hit the market even harder, which is why I think, it's very effective. I liken it to a soccer match where your team is down by a point and you have this choice, right? Try and play good defense and just keep the opposing team from scoring the goal the rest of the game, or press them, man. Press them hard and fight for the ball and push down the field. And I think that's what they did. They turned that problem into an opportunity, as opposed to being like, yeah, okay, well, we're banned, we'll just whatever. I mean, they didn't sit by idly and watch it happen. They said, let's use this as an opportunity to market ourselves even harder with the crowd that we're going after, which are, athletes and the people who look up to those athletes. You and I.
Wow. First of all, well done. The soccer comparison, that's just thematically so deep. It's almost unbelievable. But no, I agree with, everything you said. Going back to even the idea of ambush marketing, is there a problem with it? I don't really think so. I mean, you think it's kind of a complex issue to begin with when you're talking about an organization making money rather than athletes making money. They're like, no, not you can't do your sponsorship thing. We're doing ours. So, it's kind of open game, and it always has been. And you're just trying to force people into sponsorship, and that's never going to work. And like you said, you can't take something away. You just can't do that anymore. And so for Beats, I mean, I think they just made out with this deal incredibly because they got something even better than just pure marketing, which is kind of authenticity. You have people saying you can't wear these, and people are wearing them anyway. Showing just an affinity for this product. That's real. It's something that it's not even. It might not be even paid. You don't know. But it's just that's much stronger than seeing an advertisement or paying somebody to wear your product or something like that. So
or seeing that logo splashed up on the soccer field wall. I mean, you're right. It's not fabricated. Yeah,
it's a more like common usage, than just here's a big banner with my logo. It's here's an amazing athlete wearing my headphones. And that really goes well with the Beats brand and the audience they're kind of shooting for. So for them, total win.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
And now how do you think moving forward, do you think Beats should use this, this ban in their marketing moving forward? Do you think it's something they should, just let it be what it is? Because they kind of act like, in comments, like this is just something that happened. Do you think they should actually incorporate it into their marketing moving forward from here for the rest of the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think they could take the marketing even a step further. And of course, the game before the game theme has serious legs, in my opinion.
By the way, how'd you like the game before the game video? They put it like the Beats 5-minute video they put together.
It was relevant, kind of like how we do the podcast, relevant to the time and the events.
Yeah.
I thought it had a great emotional tie in there, and I got even a little choked up at the end. If you haven't seen it, you got to obviously watch it. But the guy is talking to his son and telling him, you play hard, blah blah blah, and don't forget I love you, kind of thing. And it was just, it's a very emotional, I think, video. It's like a music video, a lot of unrelated but related imagery. All these fans of soccer and people, and very even seldom showing the Beats brand.
Yeah.
But
it's like a great sports movie. You know what I mean? It kind of just gets you. It's going to get you, and it does. But it does. It has those three sort of key elements, which is the World Cup, current event setting, the emotion, the human emotion of the father-son bond, and then you got your product, which is organically incorporated into it, and subtly too.
Mm-hmm. But going back to the original question, I think it's that hard work and the struggle of athletes that I think is really appealing to people today. Our culture, at least in the U.S., has been shifting to be, more focusing on sports and health-related activities. And I think the average person now relates to that struggle and the behind-the-scenes preparation it takes athletes before they get out on that field or that court to play. It's all of the preparation that's really the hard work. When you go out there, sure, it's a struggle, but they could really embrace this and move it into other sports. I think, the basketball arena and football, and you've got all of these different sports that really play out in seasons over the course of a year. So they could have legs, it could last, at least for a year or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they've done the brand in general has done a good job with their marketing from the get-go pretty much, and kind of tying Beats to music and athletics. So yeah. I think that's good. I would even say, as far as the, this controversy that's kind of stirred up, I think you could use it, directly. You could have like ads where that are just pictures of people wearing Beats from the, athletes wearing Beats at the World Cup. Like those kind of images, like somebody's just taking it from a cell phone or something, and then, you just put something like banned from the World Cup. Try to make it use that cool that you got from that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I even thought of the, you could do kind of a whole campaign with the tagline, like, never let anyone ban your Beats. where you're kind of like you're pushing like the individuality of the person while you're also kind of talking about this actual thing. So it kind of works on two levels.
Yeah.
But I kind of use that, and then you could even take like other sports and be like, who will ban us next? If you wanted to go in kind of the ultimate badassery direction, which I don't know that the brand does. I think they're pretty happy where they are. But I mean, it's a little something that happened that I feel like you get a little more mileage out of if you want to.
Yeah. And I mean, you could really use that even without even speaking to the ban, because people have already talked about it. So it's like all you really have to do is show the image of the people wearing them at the World Cup, and it's like applied, and maybe
Yeah, no,
it
that's
could be
true.
even more powerful without it.
You're right, like you said, if they use it but without directly addressing it, I mean, even
Hmm.
if you just say never let anyone ban your beats, you're talking to people, but you're kind of subtly referring to something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. I also think it'd be really cool to just offer up Beats headphones in each World Cup country's colors. They've got that Solo 2, they've gotten that Brazil yellow, but how about a US version? I think right now, I truly
American
believe,
flag,
yeah, I mean, I truly believe that those would be selling like hotcakes.
like French toast,
Yeah, like French toast.
except not French.
I think it'd be really
I
neat
was trying
stuff.
to think of what's a what's a high end hotcake, and I came up
Crepe,
with French
like
toast.
crepes.
There you go. Yeah,
There.
such an iconic American food, the crepe.
That's that's right. Well, like French toast, pancakes.
So hotcakes. Anyway, way off topic. So yeah, anything else you think of the Beats marketing moving forward? How they should, given what's occurred at the World Cup, how they should proceed from here?
Well, I mean, I think they could really ride that tide. I mean, they've got forward momentum, especially with the acquisition by Apple and everything. Right now, from the marketing standpoint and the advertising, people are really into Beats, and it's not and I for good reason. They have a great mission, something that's very pure, and people are attracted to that.
I feel the same way. I feel like this is one of those brands that's almost done everything right from the get go.
Hmm.
They kind of like really defined this is high end headphones. They have this great mission. They targeted very specifically their audience, how they were going to spread their brand around and kind of publicize it. I mean, they've just made a lot of really good moves thus far. Now they have that Apple backing behind them, and it's kind of a good pairing because Apple's like that too. Very very kind of refined marketing and targeted, and they know exactly what they're doing and who they're going for, and it's just well put together. So it's kind of a good marriage. So I think Beats is in a very good, very very good position. Closing this out, what can the brand, the everyday company at home, what can they take away or learn from Beats World Cup marketing?
Well, I think that if your brand is struggling, you don't have to feel like your hands are tied. I guess is the best. Think creatively how you can maneuver through the problem. I sometimes that means hitting it head on, and other times it means it takes some finesse. But if someone or something is standing in your way, don't back down. And I think that's what they did. They didn't back down. They used it in a way that ended up benefiting them. And so, and sometimes it's just thinking creatively about the problem and how you're going to solve it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just as simple as people on the ground kind of back to basics. Just say you just go to an event and you're just handing out your product. Something that simple. Be authentic. I mean, truth kind of trumps tactical when it comes to marketing every time. If you can get something that's honest, or instead of your sponsorship, if you can do something a little more real, people respond to that more. If you can get the attention for it, which kind of leads to the other thing. A little caveat to that is I would never attempt to create the kind of marketing buzz that Beats got in a way that's like sneaking around, or say you're banned and you're like, hey, here's $100,000 to wear these headphones. I would never try to create a false version of an authentic marketing that comes about naturally, because chances are these days it's one, not going to work, and two, you'll get found out and it'll look like a total sham.
Yeah, and like you said, authentic. People know when it's not. social media makes it harder to pull the wool over our eyes as a customer.
Those things have happened so many times in the past. Consumers are pretty astute to it now. They can kind of sniff it out, like a dog or bee can smell fear.
That's nice metaphor.
It's not as good as your soccer game thing, but I'm trying to compete here. So anyway, wrapping up here, anything else you want to say about this? Who are you rooting for to win the World Cup? Who do you think's going to come out on top?
I mean, obviously I'm rooting for the U.S. We're the underdogs, obviously, but we have a chance, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I hope they just hang in there. I'd like to see them go, one more, just because it's been such a good story and it's got kind of people excited, which is cool. And once every 4 years, right?
Yeah, it's like the Olympics, So, well, that's it for today's show. You can listen to current and past episodes of the podcast at speakinghuman.com. You can also subscribe to the Speaking Human podcast in the iTunes store.
Email us with any feedback or questions at human@thinkmonsters.com. That's human, HUMAN. And, maybe we'll read your email on the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Speaking Human. Catch you then, humans.
Speaking Human.